And I use the old adage that I grew up with, which is practice makes perfect. And when we know that it isn't an equal world, there's nothing like perfection in the world. So practice makes better. Some of the best leadership qualities, that was because I'm a mother.
What would you say a workplace looks like when it gets the support right for women?
Some of what I'm going to say is slightly controversial, but I'm going to say it anyway. When something is still being built, and when we know that it isn't an equal world, and it isn't a room that was built keeping you in mind, chances are that not out of malice or not out of design on purpose, the room isn't built for you, right? And it does not therefore account for all of your life stages either. It doesn't. That is the truth, right? So I think a huge amount of the onus incorrectly lies on women, right? So as long as you can go equipped to say, right, if I'm walking into a room, to know that the room was built before I was even in the workplace, right? So that is the truth. So if you start from the truth and you stand on that truth, then it's a lot easier to build from there. So walking in saying, okay, I know that more than anything else, if 9 out of 10 of those people right now are different from me, everything around it is going to be built for them. So it may feel like unfamiliar territory. Therefore, you need to communicate what it is that you do need. And more often than not, you'll find that the intent is actually to include and to provide. Yeah. But I will give an example of how it is possible to have that change. So when I had my second one, I was a VP then, so it's not like I didn't have a seat at the table. I did have a seat at that point. But I was the only female VP in the organization. And very few of my directors, I had very few women. And I remember, as you do, and I'd gone back to work when she was about 45 days old, so I was still breastfeeding. And if I was breastfeeding, I used to go to the bathroom and I used to pump there. Despite me having a seat, because you walk into a room that's built for 9 and it's not built for you, you just don't have the vocabulary to ask for a change, right? I didn't ask for that change, and that wasn't pleasant at all, right? About a year or so later, it was literally a conversation that one of the women had with my CEO, and the next day, I'm not joking, it's the next day, there was a mother's room that was built in the building. Yes. That's all it really took. So it wasn't coming from a place of not wanting to include, it's just not knowing any better, because the room wasn't built for you.
You've built a career across so many different industries while raising a daughter. Mm-hmm. How has that journey shaped your perspective on leadership and growth?
Oh my God, everything. So I have 2 girls. I have a 20-year-old now, Kyra, and I have a 15-year-old, Riona. And I think they're my best, they're my best consumer audience. They're my best teachers on a day-to-day basis. I think they've taught me the most. And I remember we were having a conversation at the end of the day about, practicing something, music, and I use the old adage that I grew up with, which is, practice makes perfect. And my then 8 to 10-year-old, looked at me, patted me on my head and said, "Mom, there's nothing like perfection in the world, so practice makes better." And for me, I think that was a huge shift in everything that I applied to work, which was, it wasn't, I think perfection is one of those self-inflicted afflictions that all women have, right? And that's what you tend to kind of bring. And that, I think, drastically shifted my perception on how to lead teams, how to run a project, how to look at any challenge per se, is not to strive for the perfection, but actually striving simply to make it a whole lot better than it is today.
Is such a woman supporting women, which I think is so important as well.
Absolutely. And just adding to that, Ashleigh, you think about it, we spoke about the wallet size of women. Women know the consumer better than everybody else. You are the consumer. You're the one standing in the aisle. You're the one in the WhatsApp groups. You're the one that's deciding where the dollars go, which brand earns the dollars for the birthday party. You already know. So you're starting off on intel if you're starting a business, which you already have, right? And the white spaces are a lot easier to identify when you know yourself and the consumer the best. So great opportunities for women starting businesses as well.
Yeah.
And so on. I think almost all of my commercial success stories have come from reading more the room than reading the math, right? Both of them are equally important, but anything that anybody is reading about the region from a report externally is going to tell you about half the story. But being in a room with people, with your consumers, with the brands, with everybody else, I think that is a huge opportunity. You know, if you can't have a home self and a work self, you know, mom's not a separate role. Some of the best leadership qualities that I believe that I was able to display was because I'm a mother. Yeah. And my house runs like, you know, military precision because I have P&Ls. So that is bringing your whole self. And I think the more you're able to kind of amalgamate all of those into a whole self, the more pleasantly surprised you'd be how much teams and organizations actually need that.
Yeah.
And that's what leadership is the kind of leadership that they do need.
Yeah.
And that is what helps. So that is what bringing the whole self really looks like. The infrastructure couldn't be better. The opportunities couldn't be better. So it's a good time for women to really thrive.